'Twas the week before Christmas, and all through the east not a snowflake was found, not one in the least. Joe and Joe didn't find that too strange, so they'll look very closely at the 2 week long range. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by the folks at Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Tons of rock salt waiting for the first snow and ice event, whenever that'll happen to be. Also, plenty of Pelleto and Mag ice pellets and flakes, and anything else you need. There's snow blowers, shovels, spreaders, whatever it is to get your yard looking in tip-top shape or your house looking in tip-top shape this winter and keeping everything safe for everyone around you. This is the place to go. 631-756-1125 for the best prices anywhere in the New York City tri-state area and beyond. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. Did you like my little poem there?
Very, very good. Excellent.
Although I was having a tough time, excuse me, I was having a tough time today trying to figure out where the apostrophe goes in 'twas. Because I put it, if I put it after the S, I was getting all the red line underneath saying it was misspelled, and I kind of just played with it once or twice. I said, you know what, my brain's not with this tonight, so we're gonna. Who cares? Okay, it's the spirit of the thing.
We all cannot be Clement Clark Moore, who was the one who wrote A Visit from St. Nicholas back in 18 whatever.
Well,
1822.
Each day is going to become more and more of a challenge this week because there really isn't all that much going on.
Yeah, this is the kind of weather pattern I think a lot of travelers would like to see. However, you travel at your own risk, apparently, because the cases of COVID are once again on the rise and are spiking, and all the news reports, the news media saying that things are getting progressively worse. But that's neither here nor there. At least it's going to be quiet for the next couple of weeks, it would appear, Joe. And for those snow lovers who've got that sad, fallen look on their face, what can I tell you? It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
No,
was that J&J just now?
J&J who?
JJ, did I hear him yawn or something?
No, that was
you yawning.
That was me.
Oh,
JJ's in bed. Steve Lapointe is the first to hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Stephen, very much. We haven't seen you on the chat board in a while, so it's good to have you back here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Okay, so before we do a little bit of weather, let me do a couple of minor rants. Of course, you know my love for all products Microsoft. You're gonna love this one, Joe. So,
all right.
So because if you got as I recall, you said you got a new computer and you have Windows 10 on yours. So I imagine right. So at some point in the not too distant future, you will get a little icon at the bottom of your screen that will ask you to upgrade.
Got it.
Oh, you did.
Got
okay.
It.
So let me tell you what happened. So this is why, if you remember back a few days ago, I was having all those technical issues, and I finally remembered after the show was over what I needed to do, which was I have to bring up another paint program because not to get too technical, but I can't screenshot my Google Chrome browser, and that's why I couldn't bring the maps up on the screen. So it upgrades, and I did it, so I didn't want to do it, but it was haunting me, and I started getting these things saying, on the next time you turn your computer off, when you turn it back on, you will have Windows 11. Okay, so I do the Windows 11 upgrade. And of course, after I do the Windows 11 upgrade, nothing works, okay? Nothing. I tried, getting graphics up, trying to, everything was coming up black. I was recording on my Screencast-O-Matic so I could do my weather in 5, so you have the maps in the background. Those were coming up black. Anyway, So I finally, after about 2 hours of going, trying to figure out what was wrong, I said, you know what, to hell with it. I'm going to find my way in here in the settings and see if I can, take it back to Windows 10. Okay, so I do that. There's an option in there somewhere. I won't remember it when it happens in 32 days. But there was an option in there somewhere saying if you want to take it back to Windows 10. So I click on that option, and then a thing comes up and says, "What didn't you like about Windows 11?" So I checked on a box that said, I think, other, and then I wrote, "It sucks." Okay, nothing worked. Okay, so. So I hit the button and I go back to Windows 10 and I got my old stuff back. Everything working fine. Okay. And then I notice at the bottom right hand corner, there's a little icon, and an icon comes up and it says, the next time you upgrade your computer, the next time you turn off your computer or reboot, you will have Windows 11.
Windows 11.
And I said, I just took it off. I just took it off. I don't want it. I took it off. I told you it sucked. I don't want it. And now, so in order to avoid an upgrade, you can delay. There's a setting in there where you can go in and you can delay an upgrade, and it allows you to delay an upgrade for 34 days. So I have until January 22nd, 21st, actually, to hopefully figure out this issue. Then there was what was it? Just that something else happened that I wanted to tell you. So that was that particular mess. There was something else. Now I forgot. Oh well. Anyway, Robert Russo just hit Super Chat tonight, Joe, and wishes us a Merry Christmas. And thank you, Robert. Most appreciated and glad to have you here as usual, almost every night that you are here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Oh, that was another thing too. So there is a way that you could go in and delay it as Christinapedia just reminded me, that you can delay the Windows 11 inevitably. You could actually go, there's a way to, you have to go in there and change a setting so this way it doesn't go to Windows 11. When I tell you, I was reading the instructions on what to do in order to get you to turn the updating to Windows 11 off. I looked at it and I said, I am not doing this. It required going so deep into the computer settings and changing, a letter here, a dot there. I got scared to death because I knew if I made so much as one misstep, it would be an absolute disaster. So I thought about it and I said, you know what? If come January 22nd, if I can't get back to Windows 10, I'll just go out and buy a new computer. I mean, what else am I supposed to? What else are you supposed to do? This is the world we live in.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I have had for the better part of the last month a little blue dot, which indicates that, so what does this mean? Upgrade to Windows 11 is ready for your PC. Yesterday, when I turned on my computer here, the whole screen was filled with a message saying, you're all set to go with Windows 11. And it didn't seem to give me any kind of a choice to not go with it. I don't know exactly what happened, but I was able to sidestep the issue. I was able to prevent any changeover or any upgrade because, Joe, I understand what you're talking about. I've heard other people say the same thing, that this new version of Windows 11, will screw everything up on your computer, that all of your settings will be gone, that you'll be starting literally from square one. And quite frankly, I don't want to go what you just have gone through.
Yeah, I didn't. When it switched over to 11, everything was fine. I mean, I had all my files were there. I really didn't lose any. I didn't lose anything like that. I lost nothing. Although they give you this little casual warning before you make the switch, saying you probably won't lose your files. Okay, you probably won't lose them. They should be there when this is done. So I was like, okay, well, that was really, incredibly reassuring. But it's just ridiculous. Also, the other thing is I wanted to mention too is the fact that so I really haven't gotten into too much detail with respect to what happened with me. So let me elaborate here. And here we are on the 20th of December. So back in the beginning of November, when I drove out to see my sisters, I got my stomach just kind of revolted. All right, on the way there, and I was having all sorts of issues with uh, pain and gas and everything else. So when I got back, I know the next week I started spiking these little fevers. Then we go into Thanksgiving week, and I had Thanksgiving here with my kids. So we come into Thanksgiving week, and the fever spikes are getting worse. I thought it was COVID. I went out and got tested for it. The tests were the two tests I got. The home tests were negative. Then I went to a clinic on the day before Thanksgiving, and the test was negative. The nurse practitioner suggested that maybe I had appendicitis. I said, I don't know how it could be appendicitis. I said, I don't have any pain down in my abdomen region. Anyhow, so then on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I went to the emergency room. They did a scan. They found that I had appendicitis. And then they did the surgery and took the appendix out the next morning. What apparently they forgot to tell me was the surgeon didn't forgot to tell me was that I had an inflamed colon from my bowel all the way to my small intestine. Okay, I had colitis on top of everything else, and
Right.
he was in there, and they didn't tell me. They said, you're fine. There was nothing else wrong. We looked at everything in there. Your liver looks good. Your gallbladder looks good. Blah blah blah. So I was released from the hospital on Monday. And usually when they let you out of the hospital, you're not supposed to have a temperature, and they want you to go to the bathroom at least once. Well, neither of those criteria were filled, but they released me anyway. So Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm still getting these, fever spikes to 103, and Thursday, Friday, on and on it goes. So finally, I called the doctor's office and I said, you let me out. You didn't give me any antibiotics. Was I supposed to get something? You didn't get. I had no prescriptions when I left the hospital. So they put me on Augmentin. Okay, which is something they normally put you on when it comes to for an antibiotic, but it's really strong. And of course, when you already have diarrhea, and the side effect of the medication you have is diarrhea. So anyway, this continues. The Augmentin does absolutely nothing. Fever spikes continue into the next week. I'm now approaching 11 days dealing with this. The surgeon calls and says, okay, we're going to, we'll arrange a CT scan. So they call me, Joe, on a Wednesday, right? And they schedule the CT scan for the following Tuesday. In other words, they were going to make me wait another 6 additional days before they were going to do the CT scan. So
6 more days, Joe?
6 more days. 6 more. All right. So I called up the local imaging clinic, and they were able to do the scan. This was on a Tuesday. They were able to do the scan on a Thursday, the 2 days later on a Thursday. All right. I went back to the emergency room on Monday, marking the 15th day that I was out of the hospital from the appendicitis. And they read my scan and said, guess what? You have colitis. Okay. And they gave me the right meds that seemed to be working. they're making me loopy, but they seem to be working. They gave me the right meds, and I started taking them after 16 days. So now, tomorrow, tomorrow, I am supposed to go to the surgeon, who's supposed to look at to make sure that I'm healing correctly, where they made they did the laparoscopy or whatever it is, and he's going to take a look at it. I am going to fry this surgeon like you would not. This doctor really was incredibly incompetent. At the very least, he should have said, he should have at the very least said, look, this is not my job. I'm the surgeon. I'm supposed to do the surgery part. But there's something wrong here. Let's get a doctor who knows, internal stuff, and bring him in. And that would have been fine. I would have been taken care of while I was in the hospital right after I had the appendectomy. No. Instead, it wasn't until, so I got emergency room on Monday. On Thursday, 3 days later, I got a call from the doctor's office saying, oh, we just read your CT scan, and guess what? You have colitis. So you need to go see a GI person, and we have a referral for you. And I said, so I responded by saying, well, I went to the emergency room 3 days ago. They discovered my problem. They gave me the correct medication, and they also referred me to a GI in Atlanta, which I'm going to on next Tuesday. So it's only another. My prescription's got to have another 4 days to run. So, but I'm feeling better. So whatever they put me on seems to be working. But I have to tell you, this was just one of the most preposterous experiences that you can imagine. And it's been really difficult because I wake up at night sometimes in the middle of the night and I got to throw up. And, I'm bringing up all this stuff and it's disgusting and I'm gagging. I sleep great once I'm done with it, make sure I brush my teeth before I go back to bed. But listen, I would just, as a lesson to everybody that is watching tonight and listening to all of this, okay, you have to be preemptive, okay, with your health. The doctors are not going to help you. Thank God for the nurse practitioners, because they're the ones who found both the appendicitis and the colitis. Okay, but so thank God for them, because they figured it out, and they figured it out quick. But if you've got to go to the doctor and you've got to have stuff done, and you're having issues with whatever it happens to be, you have to be preemptive, because they're not going to lift a finger that they don't have to lift in order to help you. And that's my rant of the day. So remember that, Joe. If you ever have to go, if you have to go see Dr. Bombay, emergency, come right away. If you have to go see Dr. Bombay, make sure that you have Endora with you, so that she can make sure that you get treated. That Bombay does his job.
Well, I just can't believe that they made you go through all of this. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It was totally unnecessary. It was not necessary. Okay. They could have figured out what I had after I had the appendectomy and given me the right meds. And, I could have started the healing process at least 2.5 weeks earlier than I did. So I was, if I had the colitis since the beginning of November, all right, I had it through the month of November and through the first half of the month of December. So I basically had it for the last 6 weeks. That's why it's taking that's why it seems to be just taking so long for for it to clear up. But I have noticed a few things, like for example, a few days ago, believe it or not, Joe, water tasted, whatever water I would drink tasted awful. Just absolutely tasted awful. All right. So I was
Now,
having
have you had any kind of have you had anything like solid, like let's say a hamburger or a chicken cutlet or something like
Yeah,
that?
no. I've been, my appetite's come back. I've been able to drink water again, so I'm getting hydrated. I noticed, like, I can't really drink, and not that I really do drink carbonated beverages, because I don't, but every once in a while I like to have a Coke, and I can't really drink more than a few ounces of it because it leaves a very metallic taste in my mouth. So I can't really have that. But yeah, no, my appetite's come back. I've been eating. Um, I have to speak to the doctor in terms of being specific in the diet. So I'm trying to just be a little careful. But I'm also, Joe, still at the point where I look at food and I just, I open the refrigerator and I look at food that's in there, and I just start throwing it out because I can't
Yeah.
look. I can't even look at it. Oh, and this is like an out of an Abbott and Costello routine. Speaking of food, so I went to this morning. I went to the supermarket because I needed to pick up a couple of things, and the food court was open. Okay, so this happens to be every single time. Every time, Joe. It's like, it's amazing. They look for me. So they had baked chicken and they had fried chicken, and I really like fried chicken. So I I wanted two pieces, two baked and two fried. So I get this guy who works behind the food court, who works in the food court, dumber than dirt. Okay, I mean, just absolutely dumber than dirt. So I tell him, I said, look, give me two fried thighs and two baked thighs. Okay. He goes in to get the thighs, the turkey, the chicken thighs, the fried ones. Joe, he went in there, and and they charge you, like, per thigh. It was like $1.35. The part is like $1.35. He goes in there and he digs around until he could find the two smallest chicken thighs you could possibly imagine. Okay, they were basically chicken wings. All right, he puts them in there, and you get a side. So I said, give me a side of fries. He throws three French fries in in the tray. All right, then he proceeds to do the same exact thing with the baked chicken. He goes in and he digs and digs and digs until he finds the two. I mean, they were literally that big, okay, like a chicken nugget. He finds the two smallest baked thighs and does the same exact thing. I was furious. I mean, just absolutely livid. So I wound up taking it over to the manager's counter and just gave it to them. And I said, I'm not paying for this. Okay. And I told them what happened. But it's like, this happens to me, Joe, every single time. I could get on that line 15 times, okay, in a row. I will get the same moron on the other side of the counter, the same moron every single time. So anyhow, no, the chicken was terrible, actually. So actually, I didn't even eat it because I sent it back. I didn't pay for it. So anyhow, that was my day. That was my day. It was most exciting.
What can I say after all of that?
You can't.
Somebody on the chat board, I forgot to see. Somebody on the chat board said, "I just love Joe's rants."
Yeah.
And this is a rant. What
You
else
know.
can there are no words.
Well, we could rant about the long range, but there's nothing going on there. But why don't we just, at the very least, take a look at some weather tonight as we roll along on this Monday, closing in on Christmas Eve. And nice little low there coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, spreading rain there through the Northeast Gulf and Florida and into the Southeast, sliding eastward. Also, sort of interesting, Joe, on the model runs that began yesterday. Now it seems like the wants to bring this low up and have it a little more tucked in for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Although I don't think it's going to really mean too much in terms of causing a big issue. Just maybe some, coastal southeastern New England, eastern Long Island, coastal New Jersey, maybe get into clouds and some rain for a few hours. But I really don't see anything, too crazy going on with this.
What do you think about the possibility of a little bit of sleet mixing in with a touch of sleet mixing in with some of the precipitation for places like where I am up in the Hudson Valley? I mean, I'm not talking about a major ice storm or anything. I'm just talking about a pellet or two here and there mixing in with the whatever rain that falls. And we're not going to see all that much in the way of precipitation, I don't think.
No.
It'll be like a glancing blow.
I mean, is it possible? I suppose. And they'll all be out in the streets jumping up and down. It's an ice pellet. It's an ice pellet. Yeah, I mean, is it really worth throwing a whole lot of energy into it? I don't know.
I don't know either. It doesn't seem like, well, I mean, it's conceivable that we may have a December. What happened to that front-loaded winter that everybody was all excited about? It looks like in December, Central Park, and for many areas, it may be an inch or less of snow for this particular. I mean, Central Park has had a trace. I mean, no big deal.
Boston got their inch, but a lot of places south of I-90, it's been virtually non-existent. I mean, in the West, you have to go. Still the amount of snow that's fallen in Denver through today has been, it's been kind of minimal. Meanwhile, you see what's going on in the radar with the rain off the Florida West Coast and in the Florida Panhandle and off the Southeast Coast. And we've got rain up in Mississippi and back over to Louisiana. The Northeast is quiet. There's a little bit of leftover snow up in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine. And I think also up in New Brunswick, we're seeing a little bit of snow there. And some precip action coming across the northern plains and Rockies, and looking at some action coming in to the Pacific Northwest. So, this is, to me, to me, it was anyway. I just could not get too excited about the way this whole pattern evolved in the last couple of weeks. Everybody was getting excited over the NAO, and everybody was getting excited over the Arctic oscillation. I was thinking about this show today, and maybe you can add your opinion to it. But one of the things I've always said when it comes to when we look at these teleconnections is to pay close attention to what exactly are we talking about in terms of the magnitude of the change, because the bigger the magnitude of that change, makes the models more and more loopy. So if you start dealing with say an Arctic oscillation that's 3 or 4 standard deviations or more negative, if you're dealing with an NAO that's 3 or 4 standard deviations more negative, I think it makes the models a lot more loopy. I think it makes them a lot more unreliable. I think it especially affects the ensembles, because I had a few people point out to me and says, well, look at the ensembles are cold and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're not that cold, okay? They're just not. I don't know what you're looking at, but I'm not seeing it. It's not here, okay? And the flow's all wrong. You got a west to east flow across the United States. What in the name of God are you going to do with that? Unless something crashes through that western trough and comes into a little bit of well-timed cold air in the Northeast that lasts all of about 2 days when it's here, what are you going to do with it? I mean, but I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that you've got these teleconnections that are so stretched out. The atmosphere is doing weird things. Nothing is coupling. Oh, and then of course, we mentioned yesterday. The other thing was, the MJO. It's phases 7, 8, and 1, or 8, 1, and 2, or whatever the hell it is. And I'm like, who cares? Nothing what's going on in the Indian Ocean is coupling with anything going on in the Pacific. And nothing that's going on in the Pacific is coupling with anything else that's going on across the United States. It sucks. It stinks. It's not nice.
It sounds very much like what we had 2 years ago, the pattern that we had 2 years ago, where we had no teleconnections. The cold air remained bottled up over the polar regions, and if you recall, that was the winter where we had less than 5 inches at Central Park, and we actually saw snow into May, however slight. So this looks like it's going to be one of those weird winters. And what else can I tell you, Joe? Except maybe something will break during January, but in the foreseeable future, at least for the next week or two, it doesn't seem like anything is changing.
Well, certainly nothing's coming down the pike anytime soon. I mean, what we've got right now is what we've got right now, and I thought I had brought the map back up. Just give me a second here. Everything is not behaving itself the way it's supposed to be. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. This is the bring in WPC with the rainfall. I'm just going to I'm going to center this a little bit so that it makes it easier for me to, let's see, fit to screen, center to screen. All right, we'll have to deal with this the way it looks right now. So look at the precip in the east. I mean, pretty much from New York City southwest down into the Carolina mountains, no precip being forecast for the next 7 days. A little bit of half an inch along the coast of eastern New England, half to 3/4 of an inch from the Carolinas down into northern Florida with heavier precip offshore. And then you've got the rains, which, it seems like they drew that map of rain in California 3 weeks ago up and down the West Coast like that. I mean, every day it looks exactly the same. Several to many inches, big snows in the Sierra Nevadas and in the Cascades. I mean, there's nothing changes out there. Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
Nothing at all. And I mean, you have to look for. My God, look at all that dry weather in the middle of the country. Well, at least Joe. One nice thing about this, the folks who live out in California, who were begging for water this past summer, at least they're getting hit.
Yes.
And they're getting there now. This may not last through the entire winter, but and the thing about this is also, and I've said this before, in California, it's either feast or famine. I mean, it's either end of the spectrum. You don't get a modest amount or a moderate amount of precipitation. You either don't get anything, and you have dry and drought conditions that last for weeks, or when it finally opens up, you get heavy duty rains that last for weeks, leading to floods and leading to mudslides. And it looks like right now that's kind of like the pattern that the folks in California are in.
Yeah, I know that's almost always the case out there. We've got double super chat hits here from Izzy D on this Monday night. Thank you, Izzy, very much for doing that. Most appreciated as we head into the Christmas holidays. Here's the NAO for the next 2 weeks, popping up to the neutral line, which kind of explains why that storm's forming offshore and getting a little more tucked into the coast, and then it goes negative again, and then they're sort of all over the place as we get into January 1st. The PNA, deeply negative by almost by 2 standard deviations from the mean at the moment, and staying that way. starting to trend a little higher toward the end of the month, but not enough. And the Arctic Oscillation, which is negative now, goes deeply negative. 4 standard deviations or more in some of the members, because we move into next week, and then we start to see them trend up toward the neutral line. So again, I'm not enthused. I'm not impressed by all of this, and it's hard for me to see how are you going to have um, snow come out of a pattern like this when you can't even get it to be cold. I mean, that's my argument here. You cannot get it to be cold. And by the way, the chairman sent me an interesting statistic, at least for New York City. So just you might find this interesting, Joe. Let me see if I can bring it up. If I remember it correctly. But it says, okay, so in years where Central Park has just received a trace of snow since October 1st, there have been only 13 years like that, where they've, no snow at all, a trace or less, since from October 1st to December 31st. 13 years, 13 years in the data set. Only one of those 13 years, the winter of 2015, 2016, did we have above average snowfall. Just the one.
And that the only reason that happened was that we had that mammoth 25, 26 inches of snow in that one big storm.
Yes. Yeah, I mean
if that storm hadn't happened, it would have joined the other 15 winters with that was the
exactly. It's and there are a lot of winter. You and I both know this. A lot of winters up here are like that. You need it's 1 or 2 big storms that kind of put you over the top, and the rest of them are just mostly minor events. Although I tend to like the minor events sometimes a little bit more than the big ones. We've got another Izzy D. A triple hit on the super chat board, but I can't find your message here. Where is it?
Which Joe are you referring to? I mean, he says, Joe, I have a message on board for you. That doesn't help when there are 2 Joes.
Well, no, exactly. I can't really. I don't see it. Whatever message you put up, I don't see it, Izzy. So you might want to retype it if you don't mind. So here we are tonight. We've got high pressure right along the coast here from Cape Cod down into Virginia. A cold front that is moving right along into the Western Lakes and swinging eastward. So that will slowly push its way into the east over the coming days. And as we switch over to the GFS, I just want to show you with respect to the upper pattern. Very nice Greenland block, too far northeast. Okay. In the meantime, in the east, in the Pacific, you've got this Aleutian, this high along 160 that's trying to push up into the Aleutians and never gets there. Okay. So that's no good. And going forward over the next couple of weeks, I mean, what are you going to do with this? You still got this trough, you've still got all this troughing in the west. The block starts to rebuild later next week, and you've got a low out at 50 and 50, which kind of at least puts us on the edges of some cold. But, I mean, I'm looking at this, it's like, so what? I mean, this is just not. This is not a. Oh, and here we go. At the end of next week, what do we have? We've got a ridge in the east. We've got a 5. What is that? Excuse me. We have a 5. What is it? A 588 high or a 591 high in the Gulf of Mexico. What are you going to do with that? Nosing up the Appalachians. So, at the very end of the forecast period, as we have said yesterday, how it's been like this for the last couple of weeks. It's always on days 14, 15, and 16 that you start to see the models colder. Well, once again today, it's days 14, 15, and 16, and we never seem to get anywhere inside. We can't even get inside the 2-week time frame, let alone the 1 week.
What can I say? It still have a lot. I mean, winter doesn't officially arrive until, astronomically speaking, until 10:58 tomorrow morning. So we have a full 90 days ahead of us. But you get the impression with this type of a pattern, if it maintains itself for a long period of time, we may squander a lot of that 90-day period. I hope for all of you snow lovers out there, I hope that that's not the case. But, what are you going to do? What are you going to say?
Yeah.
Can we get Dr. Judith Cohen? Can we get Dr. Judith Cohen here to maybe act a cheerleader and say, stick a firecracker, sis, boom,
bah. Bugs Bunny, rah, rah, rah.
Bugs Bunny, rah, rah, rah.
So Izzy says, I was thinking today from my favorite YouTube shows when it comes to weather, even though I do watch others, you are the go-to, no hype, you do real weather, and most others do not like you. I take it as a compliment. I'm assuming you wrote that to mean that they don't like me personally. So, okay, well, I'm supposed to care about this. I mean that they don't like me, But thank you. That's I'm happy. I'm glad that you watch. Joe and I have always tried to keep it real here.
A lot of people over the years, when I was at News 12, that people realized or they knew in the way that we knew that, for example, watching Alan Casper during the 70s and 80s, we knew that Alan was a snow lover. We knew that he got excited when there was the potential for snow, and he would attempt to convey that on the air. Although some, like Jim Jensen, the anchor at Channel 2, wasn't particularly pleased when such occasions occurred. On News 12, people knew that I was not really that much of a snow lover. I started out being a snow lover, but I always used to talk about, the potential for, well, we're going to miss this one. And, oh, good news, we're not going to see all that much in the way of snow. And people, I know the snow lovers, didn't like me for that. In fact, I even think that there are a few people who hated me for that. However, it was interesting in that on those occasions when I told everybody, this is something that looks very interesting, this looks like something serious, we could get a lot of snow out of this, you'd go on some of those websites, those snow message boards or whatever, and you occasionally see like that. This is the real thing. You know how I know? Even Joe Rayo is getting excited about that. So that's the reputation that you build up among the masses. Either you like snow or you don't like snow, or you play it straight or whatever. That's how they feel. And Joe, the snow weenies, or the people who like cold and wintry weather, they just don't like people like us when we tell the truth. They'd rather hear it from some other website that tries to drum up business, so to speak, and says, "Now don't worry about it. In another week, things are going to change." And we know, you and I know, they're not going to change, at least for a little while. What are you going to say?
All right, I'm going to just run through the. I mean, there really isn't much to talk about with respect to what's going to happen this week.
Now, wait a minute, Tom Contino, how would I know if Jim Jensen was an alcoholic? I didn't work at Channel 2. I had no idea. Jim Jensen was one of the top news anchors in New York for many, many, many years. And he did have some problems toward the end. But I didn't know Jim Jensen personally. I didn't know him. The only thing I did know is that whenever Alan Casper came on and got excited about a snowstorm, here was Jim Jensen when they came back to him with a glum face saying, "All right, Alan, thank you." that was the extent of Jim Jensen to me. So I have no clue when you ask a question like that, I can't answer that.
Yeah,
do some research.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, everybody has their personal lives,
right?
And
right.
people are allowed to live quiet personal lives where they don't have to share everything that's going on in their day to day constantly, which is what basically social media has done. It's sort of destroyed the privacy of most people. Okay, I got Izzy clarifying, saying it's not that they don't like me, just that they're not like me because I don't hype. Okay, I got you. Okay. Brandon Doherty hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Brandon. Most appreciated. So let's look at the GFS with respect to this low. It turns northward tomorrow, kind of grazes, I'm sorry, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, kind of grazes the Carolinas there with some rain, just sort of touches coastal New Jersey and eastern Long Island. It doesn't look like it brings any precip near you, Joe, but that doesn't mean that there can't be, any aloft. So if you want to put in the chance for an ice pellet, and have everybody stand on the Poughkeepsie Bridge to watch to see if that ice pellet's going to fall or not, we can do that. But there's your low as it runs out to the northeast of North Carolina toward Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. And then we're going to be dry on Thursday. I don't know that I believe the GFS with this, little disturbance Thursday night into Friday morning. And then we get into some rain Friday night into Saturday morning, some snow on the northern edge of this. Again, a big yawn. By the way, I don't know if you saw, Joe, Saturday, high temperatures from Route 78 south down into southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, mostly mid and upper 50s, and in fact, low to mid 50s across northern New Jersey, New York City, and Long Island, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, nice little jump in the temperature.
It can't even get cold. It can't even get cold. And then Sunday looks good. I mean, it looks pretty dry. Probably does turn colder Sunday into early next week. Got a couple of weak systems. One gets squashed on Tuesday, if this is correct, and then another one approaches. Then you know it's bad. You know how you know it's bad? You know it's bad when you can't even get it cold enough so that if you get some precip that runs out ahead, that comes out of the Ohio Valley or the Plains or the Southern Appalachians or the Central Appalachians that runs eastward, where you could get that brief period of snow or sleet for a couple of hours that puts down a quick coating to an inch or two. You can't even do that. You can't even do that.
Right. Yeah.
Ken Musillo hitting super chat tonight. And thank you, Ken, for the pre-Christmas hit on the tip jar. And I already said thank you to Brandon Doherty. We've got a nice crowd tonight, Joe. We've got 145 folks on the board, which we, I saw we were in the 150s, which was pretty nice.
Pretty good, especially since we started an hour later, and I appreciate that. By the way, I mentioned to Joe beforehand. I mentioned this yesterday on the Sunday morning show that because of library talks I'm giving this week, that tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday night, we would be starting at 8:30. But now, one of the libraries that I had for Thursday has canceled. So we go back to 7:30 on Thursday night, Joe, our regular time. And I'm asking off for Wednesday because Wednesday I've got 3 talks that day, and I think I'll be thoroughly tuckered out by the time.
Oh yeah,
be time to do Joe and Joe. So,
and it doesn't look like
look, there's nothing to talk about it.
I know.
If there was a big,
there's nothing. There's nothing going on. So let's do a little Briller Jeopardy and wrap this up, shall we?
All righty.
Let's see. By the way, Timothy Veltman brings a record, an extreme on the other end, and says that of the 5 winters at Central Park recorded 60 inches or more, there was at least 9 inches of snow by New Year's Day. So it's a fairly good bet that this will not be one of those winters. So that's an interesting that's an interesting stat. The chairman, Scott Briller, is out on COVID runs, and we wish him mega safety considering the virulent Omicron variant that's out there, and please stay safe. I was talking to a friend of mine, Joe, up in New York City today, and mentioned the fact that a lot of people have come down with it. So this was right just in time for the Christmas holiday, which is really just fantastic. So anyway, here we go. So this is Briller Jeopardy for tonight. So here we go. Category is Christmas records in New York City. What was the highest and lowest temperature ever on Christmas Day?
I'll say for Christmas Day. I'll say -2, and for the highest, I'll say something like, well, we just saw this. I think in 2015, was it 68, 69 degrees or something along those lines?
66. 60.
We didn't do that. Did we do that last year?
Possibly.
We melted all that snow.
Or the day before, the night before. 66 was the high in 2015. The low in 1980 was -1. Although I thought it might have been -2 also, but -1. I would have guessed -2.
I remember that well.
So do I. What was the greatest snowfall ever to fall on Christmas Day? Within 3.
On Christmas Day now.
Yes.
I'll say I think it's somewhere between 8 and 12 inches. I'll say 8 inches.
7 inches, Joe. Back on December 25th, 1909. For some reason, if you look at the records for Christmas Day, it doesn't snow very much on Christmas Day. It'll snow more the days after Christmas, and you get more days actually, like I think, in the week going into Christmas. But the actual days surrounding Christmas itself, for some reason, it doesn't snow very much on Christmas Day. Since 1912, okay, how many Christmas days has had at least 1 inch of snow on the ground within 6?
At least 1 inch on the ground.
Yes.
I'll say, how about 25?
18.
18. Okay.
Yeah. Although I used to love looking at that statistic, because you get a snowstorm the day before where somebody would get like 24 inches, and then you look the next day at the observation, they tell you how much snow is on the ground, and you'll see 6.
Right.
They get 24, and then you'll see 6. So somehow 18 inches of snow just magically disappeared. Yes.
It's compression, Joe. Compression.
Last White Christmas.
The last white Christmas?
Yes.
It almost was last year, but of course it all went away the night before. The last white Christmas. I'm dreaming. How about? Could it be 20? No, couldn't be. I'm not sure in the last few years. That's a good question. 20. I'm going to say 20. I'll say 2010. I know it's wrong.
2009.
2009.
Right. What year in the last 10 did the park receive a trace of snow on Christmas morning? What year in the last 10 years?
Well, you and I, you were up in Connecticut. Was that the first year that we were working together?
That was a beautiful Christmas morning. It was like a picture postcard, getting about 4 fluffy, wet inches of snow during the night and into the early morning hours, and it stopped right at around 7 or 8 o'clock. You couldn't have written a script better for what I experienced that day, that night.
I'm not sure if that was 2017 or 2018, but I'll say 2017.
And you would be correct. It was 2017. And finally, What was the lowest daytime maximum ever on Christmas Day?
Well, that 1980 Christmas Day, I remember the temperature was something like 7 or 8 degrees, even at Central Park. Um, I'll say 1980, but I'm going to guess that there was some time in the early 20th century, like 1909 or something like that may have beat that. But I'll say 1980.
83.13 was the high that day. The low that morning was four above zero. So that
So you mean in 19? So you mean in 19? Oh, you know what? I think in 1980 the temperature started to rise toward midnight. It was during the daytime. It was with bright sunshine. We had
right.
temperatures in the single digits, and then it started to rise toward midnight as a warm front approached. So yeah,
Right.
I can understand that.
And then it warmed up and rained like 2 days later. You didn't see a flake.
Exactly.
You didn't see a flake or an ice pellet. All right, here we go. We're coming up on 9:30. We've had a nice 55-minute run here, so that's good. All right, so tomorrow night we're back. What, at 8:30 Eastern time?
8:30 tomorrow night.
Okay,
Yes.
8:30 Eastern time tomorrow night. So we'll see you then, folks. Thanks for everybody for the super chat hits, most appreciated. Thanks also for the large crowd that we had tonight on the viewers that we had tonight at the concurrent viewers reaching up into the almost to 160, which is we haven't seen that in a while. But then again, we haven't had any snowstorms, so until we get some snowstorms, we're not going to see that number go up very much. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 6317-561125 for the best prices anywhere in the tri-state area for anything and everything you need to make sure your yard and home are safe this coming winter with cleanups, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So I guess we're good, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We'll be here.
Nighty night.